Lyman Sheets, death announced. Super Hoop goes into production. New P3 game released.
Hi, my name is Joosten. I'm the editor of Pinball Magazine, and I'm joined here today with...
I'm Martin Ayub, and I'm the editor of Pinball News, and Jonathan and I are here in our latest PINcast to talk about all the events in the pinball world through the month of January 2022.
Yes, and usually we say it's been quite an eventful month. Most of the times that's true. This time, a rather quiet month, although there is some shocking news.
Yes, and normally we would start with looking at the news from each of the pinball manufacturers, but this time we're going to start with what we would generally term as other non-pinball manufacturer news, and of course our main headline is about the death of Lyman Sheets, Lyman F. Sheets Jr.,
right?
Which obviously came as a major shock to everybody in the pinball world and everybody who knew him and his family, and obviously to his partner Penny.
Right.
And his death was announced on the 19th of January. He was age 55.
Which is, I'd say, very young.
Indeed, yeah. All the more shocking for all the things, all the good things we're expecting from him over in the near future, with the work he was doing on the Cactus Canyon remake.
Right.
And apparently he'd also been signed up to work with another manufacturer, but that hadn't been announced yet. So it seemed to be a lot of good stuff coming out, and obviously he's got a huge back catalogue of great successes, and not only the work he did at Williams Bally, but also stuff he did at Stern. And personally, it's. I wouldn't say it was a total surprise when I heard it. It's sometimes when you hear these news, you just can't believe it. This time, I didn't have to sort of second source the information. It was believable enough, and I know that Lyman had depression in his life over many years. And that can sometimes lead to the way by which he did die, which was by suicide. So that was all the more sad as well. It's as if it could be any sadder. And it was also so thinking back to all the wonderful work he's done at Williams and at Stern, and he'd taken games which had frankly been mediocre and turned them into gold by having the Lyman touch applied to the game rules.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, what were your thoughts, Jonathan?
Well, as everybody else, I was shocked. I didn't see it coming. I met Lyman several times, either at the Stern factory when he was still working for Stern, or at Pinball Expo. Mm-hmm. We weren't that close, in the sense that I chatted with him maybe once or twice, but I wouldn't say that we didn't click, but we just didn't have anything to discuss. So it were always just short, hi, nice to see you, and that was it, kind of meetings. But the legacy that he leaves within the world of pinball is tremendous. I couldn't help but remember, and I still vividly remember, the first time that I was that I discovered how to play or start up Lyman's Layman's on Monster Bash. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was so funny. He had a great sense of humor and was able to capture that in that game as well. That was just hilarious, and it's probably not appropriate to mention that now that he's no longer here. But still, whenever I get the chance of playing Monster Bash, I'll be definitely playing it in his honor.
Quite right, yes. Well, the there was a service to mark his life, and it took place on Friday, the 28th of January at 11 a.m. It was streamed online and can still be viewed if you would like to do that at morizzofuneralhome.com/obituaries. So it's morizzofuneralhome.com/obituaries, and just scroll down and click on the entry for Lyman, and you can see all the eulogies and the tributes to his life and work from a number of family members and notable pinball people as well.
Right. So, not sure whether. Well, let's put it like this. Rumor has it that the coding that he was working on with Josh Sharp on Cactus Canyon.
Yeah.
Rumor has it that might actually be finished. So that could have been. That might still get released after all, although Chicago Gaming may actually decide not to release it. I'm not sure. That's up to them. We haven't had any confirmation that the code is mostly finished, but that's what I have been hearing, although I can't say that. I can't check whether these sources are accurate in this case.
Yeah. Well, let's hope so. Be a nice fitting tribute to have his last magnum opus, I suppose, to actually make it into the public.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And well, obviously, my sympathies go out and condolences go out to the Sheets family, Penny, and everybody else who is devastated by this news.
Yes, absolutely. Not really an awful lot more to be said about it at this stage, and it's not even one of those things where you can sort of say you can learn the lessons or anything could have been done differently, because that isn't very productive or positive line of thought. But we should celebrate the work and the life of Lyman, and I think that's what he would have wanted.
Right. Okay. Then I suppose we move on to our second headline. Or do you have something else in mind?
No, absolutely. Our second headline was about the game Super Hoop, which is being made by Bittronic. Now, it's not a new game, is it, Jonathan?
No, I was actually surprised to see that some websites are calling this a reveal. This is a game that was already revealed at Pinball Expo 2019, which is 2.5 years ago. At that time, it was called Super Canasta. In the meantime, apparently the name changed, but the playfield is identical, I think. Maybe some minor changes that aren't that obvious, but it's the game was on the show floor.
It was, yeah, and unplayable for anybody who was at Pinball Expo.
Yeah, and it was already known at that time that Bittronic would be the manufacturer, and the story is that Antonio Arturo, who is the main man behind Quetzal Pinball, who manufactured Captain Nemo Pinball and Tokyo Perfect Drift Pinball.
That's right.
That Bittronic either approached him or he approached them, but Bittronic was looking for a pinball design for the, I suppose the Spanish coin-op amusement market, and Antonio offered to design the game to them, or they hired him to design the game, which he did, and that turned out to be Super Hoop, which is currently in production. And well, there's quite a bit of news on the game, other than the fact that it's in production. What I find quite interesting to see is on the website of Bittronic are photos of many pinball cabinets on legs, which is rather surprising. Why would you put them on legs in a factory? That makes no sense to me. Although it probably indicates that they don't have the trolleys to move the cabinets around, because I don't recall any large manufacturer manufacturing the game in such large quantities as they are, and putting the games on legs. And while we're speaking of quantities,
Yes.
apparently the first 100 games have already been built, but it's a production of 400 in total. And the game is obviously destined for Spanish arcades, but there's also a new distributor in France, a name that we haven't heard before, stepping into to pinball, but that doesn't mean that's a bad thing. In Europe, RS Pinball in Austria is also a distributor, and there's Nitro Pinball in Canada and Flippin' Out Pinball, who are also distributors for the game in North America.
Right. Okay. So it sounds like they've got a good distribution chain set up.
It's a start, I suppose.
Yeah, a little bit of history on the game, I suppose. The original Canasta game was a very, very popular Spanish game. It was certainly popular in the Spanish market.
Yeah, this is if I'm not mistaken, Sega from 1986 game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was sufficiently popular that it was then rethemed or rebuilt, I suppose, as a new Canasta.
Right.
Later.
That was like a decade ago, I would say,
Yeah.
by a company called Marsaplay, who actually also showed pictures of, I think, dozens of pinball cabinets being manufactured. But we've seen the game at the EAG show in London, which usually takes place in January, except not this month, this January.
Yeah.
But we also remember that the coils didn't have an end of stroke switch and were actually burning on the show floor.
It was technically a bit of a disaster, to be honest. I remember playing one over in Ireland, and it was I don't think it was actually in someone's house, and it never worked the entire weekend that we were there. So that wasn't a good sign, and that was a brand new game. So I don't think it ever went into proper production, that game. But there obviously, the Canasta title has a very good history to it, a very popular history in Spain.
Yeah. Apparently, the Spanish like to play basketball.
Yeah. So when the game Super Canasta was announced by Antonio, as you said, by Quetzal for Bittronic. It wasn't a surprise that they used that name, but apparently it's also intended for a much more international market when they're building 400. So, and the game, as far as I'm aware, that everything in the game is in English rather than being Spanish. Mm-hmm. So, for the English-speaking market, I think the use of the word canasta in the title became problematic, and it could be confused with the Canasta card game. So better just to change it from Super Canasta to Super Hoop, and Canasta being Spanish for basket, or hoop. So it's just an anglicized version of the same title. Yeah. So hence Super Hoop, which was Super Canasta, as we said. And interesting that on the Bittronic website, they have a price there of €4,650 plus VAT. Which is obviously going to vary by country, is exactly what the VAT or tax rate is, and obviously if it's in North America, then they have different taxes as well. There, they won't have VAT; they'll have sales tax and
shipping costs that also need to be recouped, I suppose.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, which as we have spoken about before, is not cheap at the moment. If you're wanting to send anything across the seas by container, it's not cheap and it's not quick.
Right. So, but while we can't show you any pictures, although they will be in the Pinball Magazine newsletter if you subscribe to that, What we can say about the game is it's mostly single level, but I think one ramp. It has 5 flippers, a 15-inch video monitor, and the back glass, according to the website of Bittronic, can be personalized. I'm not sure how, but there must be a way that you can either choose from different back glasses or maybe have clothes in special color themes if that's what you prefer, so it matches your favorite theme, something like that.
Yes, I certainly got information about this this version of it back in October, and there was a video I think put on YouTube at around about that time.
Yeah, which has been viewed already close to 1,000 times, so it's hardly a reveal. But okay, continue.
Yeah, I've got all the rules information here as well, which it seem fairly simple rules, not overly complicated, which is maybe a good thing, and maybe and I guess intentional for the market which it's intended. But it looks like a fun game, and the price is attractive. It's obviously going to come in under the price of any other manufacturer's regular operational game.
For the European market, this is probably the best price for a new pinball that's currently on the market.
I thought for a minute you were going to say for the European market, it's a slam dunk. But I'm glad you didn't. So
I'm glad you did.
No, yeah, that would have been far too cheesy. So, not really an awful lot more to say about that game at the moment. Have a look at the Bittronic website. It's a bit of a work in progress on their site. You need to get to the page for the Super Hoops by going up to the very top and going onto the products.
Product page,
section,
and then under the game Bittronic tab. Yes.
Yeah. And Super Pinball. If you try to go through the main page, it doesn't actually get you anywhere, which is a bit weird. But as I say, they are working on it, and I'm sure it'll be more prominent on the front page and with proper links in due course. But go and have a look and see what you think.
Right, and one more thing about Bittronic. They're not a new manufacturer. In fact, they're a manufacturer of casino equipment and have been around for some time already. And they also produce dart machines.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not new to coin-op and so on, which hopefully will help them get the game out there. Yeah.
Good. Well, let's look forward to playing the very latest version of it. I'm sure it'll be turning up at pinball shows around the world fairly soon.
Yeah, hopefully. So.
Okay, moving on then. Our third headline was about a new game for the P3 pinball platform from Multimorphic.
Right.
Do you want to?
No, I don't. No.
Okay. Okay.
No, it's no, sure. It's a new game developed by Nicholas Baldrige, who already developed quite a few new games for existing playfield modules on the Multimorphic P3 platform.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And this one is none other. It uses the trying to see if I quickly see which module it uses.
It uses the Cannon Lagoon playfield module.
Okay, right. Which is sort of the Cannon Lagoon one is more of a children's.
Yeah, it's pretty
game.
basic with just a few shots on the upper module.
Yeah. This game is called Flipper Foxtrot Rhythm Explosion.
Yeah, or FFRE.
I was going to say, can we find a shorter name for that?
Yeah, otherwise, although it's a quiet month, it will be a very long podcast. Otherwise, we have to keep saying that every time.
Right. So it's a mix of a rhythm game and pinball, which actually is not the first time I think we've seen something like that. Although there have been games where you have to repeat a certain rhythm that the game is indicating. Yeah,
I was thinking about the Elvis game where the video mode is you have to hit the flipper buttons as the notes or the arrows reach the left-hand side of the screen. This is a similar thing, except they're actually 4 buttons you can use, because the P3 has, I think by default, has 3 flipper buttons on each side.
Yes.
This uses 2 of them on each side, and basically there are 4 columns, and the symbols move up to the top, and you have to hit the appropriate button as it reaches the top in order to keep your combo going. And if you miss any of those, any of them get past and you didn't press the button, or you press the wrong button, then a ball is launched onto the playfield, and then you have to the video aspect of the game stops, and you have to then lock the ball back into one of the lanes at the top before you can carry on your game.
Right. So pinball is sort of like the side game.
Yeah, it's almost like a penalty if you mess up the video aspect of it.
Right.
But it seems to have a whole number of different levels to it. It starts off easy, like these games always do, and gets harder the further into you get. And there are numbers of combos to achieve. To hit the 50 or 100 combo levels, and from the very start, you can pick whether you're beginner, easy, medium, or hard levels as well.
Right.
And as with all these games which don't require a dedicated upper playfield module, then you can just download them from the game. It's from the P3 itself. The P3's operating system. You can buy the game, which costs $149. And is available from the Multimorphic website, multimorphic.com. Add it to your account, and then it will appear as a download on your P3 machine if you have one.
Right. So, if I understand it correctly, it's sort of a Guitar Hero meets pinball.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's good description.
Well, Guitar Hero was very popular for quite a while, so hopefully this will bring more people into considering a P3 pinball machine for their home.
That's a nice variation, isn't it? On not everything on the P3 has to be strictly pinball, and this is a nice way of using the hardware in a different way.
Right. Okay. So I suppose that's all there is to mention about this game. But obviously, there's other manufacturers also building pinball, or at least trying to. Let's take a look at them as well.
Okay, well, it's been a busy month for Stern Pinball. In the last PINcast, we covered the launch of their new Rush game.
Which was early January, to be precise. We hold off our previous last recording a few days, but it was
that's right. Yep.
This month.
It was
last month.
Yep. So we covered the launch of that, or the reveal of it, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get to play Rush fairly soon after it was revealed. There was a premium model, a pre-production premium model at an arcade in London, and I happened to be in London, and so I wandered over to the Funland Arcade in near Russell Square Tube Station, and played it there. And I think it's now available for everyone to play.
Okay.
And it was fairly early software on that game. I don't think it was intended for people to play. Actually, when I went there, it was turned off, truth be told. And I don't think it was supposed to be played, but I turned it on and played it anyway. And
then the owner of you have to tell the full story. Then the owner of the arcade came down because he got a call from Stern Pinball that somebody was playing the game while they weren't supposed to.
No, well, that's not quite the case. Yeah, I did say I know the owner of the arcade, and I said I turned the game on. The chap who was in charge of the arcade came over and said, "Oh, you're not allowed to play that." I said, "It's all right. I know the owner. I'm sure he'd be okay with me playing it," which I am sure he would be okay with me playing it. So I played a few games. I paid for the games, and they use a card system there. So I've now got a card with quite a few credits left on it, which I didn't use up, and it seemed pretty fun from what I could see. Although there was obviously quite a bit missing in the software. The mystery award was always the same. I think it was like 250,000 points always, and nothing else.
No mystery to that.
No, well, as it turned out, and there was no. I don't think there was even any band videos in the game either. It was all computer graphics. So, but all the songs were there, and the basic rules were there. There were lots of things on the playfield that didn't light up correctly. There was like an extra ball was announced, and said extra ball is lit, but extra ball actually wasn't lit anywhere. And then it would say extra ball. You can get the extra ball at this side scoop, but I don't think is right anyway. But I shot the side scoop and nothing happened, so I don't know. I guess that's why I didn't want people playing the game, because there was so much that wasn't in it at that stage. But yeah, so after a while, the owner did turn up, and was a bit surprised to see that I was playing the game. And he said, "No problem with you playing it, but when you finish, can you switch it off to make sure nobody else plays it?" I said, "I was going to do that anyway, but yeah, okay, sure, no problem with that." By which time I'd built up 5 credits on the game, which seemed a bit of a shame. But I thought I'll leave it then at that point, and because it's got the Stern Insider connected to it, but I had been told that it wasn't connected. But the owner of the arcade said, "No, actually it is," and when we first installed it, it wasn't to be played yet. And it was being played, and Stern knew it was being played from looking at from the Insider connected, so that they could see the game was being played and and how many games were being played and when it was being played. And so they said that they will know that you've done it. So I said, "Well, that's all right. I don't mind putting my hand up and saying, if anybody's in trouble, it's me for turning it on. It's not your fault." Right. But I don't suppose they'd mind that much if I was just playing it to find out, from a journalistic point of view, what the game was like. So I played a few games and left it at that. And
right. So Big Brother Gary is watching you.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Well, probably more likely to be George, but as it's his baby. But yeah, you. I mean, there was never any question that the Stern would have access to that kind of information, but and they're going to be very protective of a game like that, which is a premium pre-production model.
Right, but so it still surprises me.
Shouldn't be out there, really.
It still surprises me that somebody is apparently monitoring which games that are not supposed to be played are being played.
Yes, well, I guess it's because it's a very high-profile title and launch, and they want to show the best of their game. So, not really hugely surprising, but there you go.
Okay. So, well, speaking of Rush, designer John Borg and software lead Tim Sexton were a special guest on the Marco Specialties PinTech Live, where they discussed all things Rush. In the Pinball Magazine newsletter, there will be a link to that replay of that episode, if you're interested in that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And Stern announced for those of you who are fans of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that they are teaming up again with NECA, NECA, no idea who they are, with some apparently limited collector's edition items, whatever, which with action figures of Shredder and what have you, which is now the 3rd time that they are being offered. So either they're not that limited or they have really a difficult time getting rid of those.
I think it's a different mix of products in this particular loot crate, as I think they call it. That's sort of basically a box with various themed items in it, like a pizza magnet, keychain, a beanie hat, a T-shirt. It does sound vaguely familiar, all that, doesn't it? It sounds almost exactly like what was in the last one. But I think it is slightly different. But
anyway,
it's available as
$69. Sorry, $65.
$65.99. Yeah.
Yes, $64.99, whatever. So if you're into that and you'd like to believe you have something collectible, then by all means knock yourself out.
Yeah. I don't know where they're available from, but
the Stern shop.
Oh, okay, right. So plus shipping on those then as well. But I don't know whether they're available in any of the sort of major US supermarkets or stores, which as they have been in the past.
Yeah, no, I think these
I
are the
think
leftovers
Walmart.
from their. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud?
Well, I understood that they sold out very quickly in all the Walmart stores.
Yeah,
I think each store only had like 2 or 3 of them, but they all seem to go fairly quickly. So
yeah.
if you missed out on them,
I called it a distribution clusterfuck. But sorry. Oh well. So, well, time for my nap and for you to tell about new game code.
yeah. Well, again, last month we were saying how busy it was in the run up to Christmas for all the new code, and January has been only slightly less busy because there's a new version of Monsters code out, version 1.11. Quite a few changes to that, to how gameplay features work, and some extra speech, but it hasn't got Insider Connected yet. I understand that's still subject to licensor approval, which is something which has been holding up a few things, including The Mandalorian, which also doesn't have Insider Connect yet, but it does have a new version, 1.02, minor stuff, bug fixes and a few small tweaks. Mm-hmm. Batman 66 does get Insider Connected, though, added to it in version 1.06, and a few minor tweaks as well. And it brings the sort of rest of the operating system up to date with the things like all the audio equalizer settings, variable backbox lighting, controls of what happens with the start button, and that kind of stuff. Godzilla, Stern's previous title, that gets a big update, version 0.9. With changes to the skill shot awards, some new Rage combo awards, City Carnage bonus, a new one of those, Godzilla control perks, and a lot more sound and lighting effects, and some new callouts. So, yeah, quite a big update on Godzilla. Rush, the current title that we've just been talking about, that's got a new version, 0.86, only for the Pro, because I think the Pro's the only model that's out there at the moment. Or at least, presumably, it's the only one they finished the code for up to this level. So, Pro version 0.86, some bug fixes and rule changes, which is kind of standard for this part of the development cycle. New lighting effects as well, if you buy and add on the expression lighting system, which doesn't come with the Pro model, but you can buy it and plug it in, and it is supported in the operating system. So it's now got some new lighting effects if you had done that. And so those 5 games, Monsters, Mandalorian, Batman, Godzilla, and Rush, are the recipients of new code in January.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And that concludes our news on Stern Pinball.
I think it does, yeah. Across the road, there's not really much news at all.
No.
Jersey Jack.
Well, they're having a busy time, I suppose, cranking out Guns N' Roses games for as far as possible. I think it's only fair to say that all manufacturers are still suffering from supply chain issues, including Stern Pinball, who have been doing some older titles in between because they couldn't start either with newer games or other games that are in demand, Godzilla, for example. So they fall back on older titles and put them back into production, Deadpool being one of them the past month. Jersey Jack, as far as we know, not so much. But they're still building Guns N' Roses, and there's no other title that they're currently building as far as we know. No. But they did release a rule set flowchart for Guns N' Roses. I think they did that previously also for other games.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
You can download that on jerseyjackpinball.com.
Yes, complicated game, I think. So it's probably worth studying that to see how the rules work if you're going to be playing one and you're not really familiar with it. Right. For instance, especially if you're going to be playing it in tournaments, so it'd be good to know. Still no updates for Pirates of the Caribbean yet to add the score bit feature, which is available for all the other models, but apparently it's still in beta testing. but hasn't been released. So it's a bit surprising that. I don't know whether it's awaiting licensor approval from Disney for that, but it's been a long time now, and people are getting a bit antsy when Jersey Jack show the lineup of games, all with Scorebit and online connectivity, and Pirates of the Caribbean's not in that lineup, and notable by not being there. So hopefully that'll get sorted soon, and the owners of those games will be able to join the Scorebit world and download their updates and upload their scores wirelessly.
Right. Okay. So other news on pinball manufacturing all the way across the pond, I would say, heading to Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Not much news from Haggis Pinball, other than that they indicated that Fathom Revisited is now being manufactured.
Yeah,
which is something that we'd like to believe.
Yeah, well, they did say it. So, but as you say, we haven't seen any pictures or videos of the manufacturing process, and as we know, Damien has been very proactive in producing videos and showing pictures of the work so far in the factory towards doing Celts,
right?
Which I understand have all been made. But so far, all we had is Fathom Revisited is being manufactured, and that's it, and no pictures or indication of how many or it'd be nice to see some on the line, I guess. Yes. Always a reassuring sign for those who've pre-ordered it.
Yeah, also it might encourage additional sales. The revisited one might be sold out, but the classic model is still available, I suppose.
That's the Mermaid edition, yeah, which is the limited, the sold out one. Yep.
Yes.
Yep,
okay.
indeed.
Well.
So well, we hope to find see some pictures or video from Haggis soon. But anyway, congratulations to them anyway in getting Celts done and moving on to Fathom Revisited.
Right. Okay. So staying on that side of the world, Homepin in Taiwan have been teasing the arrival of parts for This is Spinal Tap.
Mm-hmm.
They also showed a picture of the cabinet, the front of the cabinet with the start button, which says "Let's Boogie." I had to check a small clip to understand the reference to Spinal Tap, but yes, that is a reference from the movie, so I get it.
Okay, I'm not that familiar with it, so I kind of assumed it was, but the front of the cabinet almost looked like a Union Jack flag from the UK, but isn't, because it's missing some bits, so it's a bit odd. Although pinball manufacturers haven't been great at reproducing the Union Jack flag reliably or correctly, thinking back to Austin Powers, which was also wrong. But maybe that's intentional, because I know that Mike Kalinowski...
Creative freedom, Mike.
Well, Mike's a bit of a stickler for accuracy. That's all. He can be quite pedantic if things are wrong, particularly grammatically. So I don't suppose that would be a deliberate error or an accidental mistake. If it's not the Union Jack, it's probably because it's not meant to be, or maybe it's a joke. Maybe it's an in-joke as part of the...
I suppose I need to watch the movie soon.
Or it's like the Stonehenge thing,
Right. Okay. And I wish there was more news to report. Unfortunately, it's that time of the year again. Chinese New Year, which means that the company is basically closed, and all their suppliers also are closed.
Yeah, everything shuts down in China and associated territories, or nearby territories, and that part of the world. Right. So it's probably 2 weeks to a month of where everything stops.
I think the celebration for New Year is only like a week or so, but people tend to go to family overseas or
take time off and
exactly.
Yeah.
So it takes some time before everybody's back in business. So to
Yeah,
speak.
it's a bit like here with Christmas and New Year, because everything sort of shuts down just before Christmas and doesn't really open up again until like the 4th of January, depending on where Christmas and New Year fall in the calendar. But so that's it's best part of 2 weeks really.
Right. Okay. So so that's all the news from Morphic.
Hoping.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the wrong sheet and I call out the wrong name. Sorry about that.
Close enough. Okay, so let's move on to one of the other manufacturers.
Big one.
Oh, which one are you going to go with next then?
Well, I guess the long story dragging on is Deep-Root Pinball. Any news on that?
As we said before, the wheels of justice or legal proceedings drag on and take forever to actually reach any kind of conclusion. But there has been a new motion filed by the landlord of the office or the building where Deep-Root was based. In fact, it turned out that they had two offices in different buildings on the same road. They were at 12669 Silicon Drive in San Antonio and also at 12621 Silicon Drive. So for some reason they needed more space than they could have got and had to have a second building. So anyway, the landlord of those has filed a motion with the court, who's investigating or dealing with the bankruptcy of Deep-Root companies, including Deep-Root Pinball, asking for permission to appoint an auctioneer to sell off the assorted assets, which means parts, inventory, equipment, and furniture, in those two properties which were used by Deep-Root Pinball.
Yeah, I think I've seen a list of items being auctioned off. Nothing spectacular, like a desk, a computer, personal stuff.
I think I saw that earlier, and there was nothing there that you'd think, anything that's specifically pinball related. There was manufacturing equipment, like circuit board making machines and things like that, and CNC routers and various other industrial equipment, but no signs of any sort of pinball collectibles like actual machines or whitewoods or anything like that. So what happened to all that, we don't know, and there's a few other people don't quite know what happened to that either. But it may be that it's elsewhere, but that's for the bankruptcy, or the people dealing with the bankruptcy to actually work out where all those assets disappeared to. But in the meantime, the landlord has basically asked, can I get rid of all this stuff that's in there so I can let the properties out to other people now? Because it's been a while and it's just sitting there with all this stuff in it, and the landlord's not getting any rent on those properties. So understandably they want it back. So in order to do that, they have to clear it out and get rid of the content. So that's what they're being asked for. So maybe you'll see some Deep-Root Pinball items coming up for sale fairly soon.
Well, can't wait. Will be the first sign.
No pre-orders. So.
Yeah, so Pinball Brothers, that's in Europe, mentioned that the first batch of Alien LV models are in final tests and they should be shipping out shortly. There's plenty of pictures of those games on their Pinball Brothers Facebook page, if you're interested in checking that out. And, they also had this auction for the LV426 number, which ended on January 22nd. As far as we know, no winner has been announced yet, but the highest bid that we've seen, which was actually right there at the beginning, was $10,000.
Yeah, we reported on that bid last month, and looks like it hasn't been increased, which is no big surprise because it's a lot of money to pay just for a number. It doesn't get you the machine, just gets you the right to have the LV426 number on it.
Right.
Whoever put that bid in early, I think, killed off any other bids. So
Yeah.
I guess they've got enough money to do that. So
For
good luck to
10K,
them.
for 10K, you'd think you get the game as well, but
Yeah. Nope, sadly not. No.
yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway,
no other news, I don't think, from Pinball Brothers. So let's move on to let's move up to Wisconsin and Spooky Pinball. Not much news from them either, except that they are having an anniversary. They marked 9 years of pinball making this January. Well, actually, it's February, I think, wasn't it? The start of February.
yeah, so congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. 9 years. And
Yeah.
doesn't time fly?
Apparently it does, yes. And, obviously, America's Most Haunted was their first game, although they, at that time, they were still calling it something else. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Good question. I'm sure as soon as you say it, it will ring a bell in my mind, but I can't remember what it was called either.
Yeah, no, because I remember seeing different back glasses at Pinball Expo.
I remember seeing it. I think Midwest Gaming Classic. I think was where I saw it.
Yeah,
it was
but anyway,
in someone's hotel room.
9 years on their way to their first decade of being a pinball manufacturer. Congrats to them, and hopefully more news soon.
Yep. Staying in North America, then, and heading south a little bit to Cicero in the Chicago suburbs, and Chicago Gaming, who appear to be, I don't know if they're expanding or they're looking to fill existing positions, but they are advertising for a number of positions. And they are, Jonathan.
A CNC router operator. If you're capable of operating a CNC machine, maybe your calling is to work for Chicago Gaming. They're also looking for a cabinet assembler. And we've both had the tour, which means that you get to play with the big press.
Yes, and you have to enjoy the smell of wood dust as well.
Yeah, so but that's where mouth masks are come into play to make sure that you don't cough up sawdust whenever you sneeze.
Yeah.
So, and they're also looking for an electronics technician. And what I found interesting is that I think this is the first time that Chicago Gaming is actually advertising these positions on their Facebook page. So my guess is they're trying to reach a broader audience. Not sure where they were looking for people previously. But if you fancy working in a pinball factory, then most certainly contact Chicago Gaming.
Yes, and I think, in fact, for the CNC router operator, it actually said that no experience was necessary. So if you wanted to get into that side of the business, then that's probably a good route to take. Get it? Route?
Right. Yeah. Ha, ha, ha.
Yes.
Hear me laughing? Ha,
yes,
ha.
very good. Okay.
Yeah. Right. Pinball Adventures is a little bit more north, Canada.
Vancouver area.
Yeah.
Yep.
And, we've been teasing, or they have been teasing, actually, the production of Punny Factory. The month of January saw only 2 new posts on their Instagram account. One of the underside of a playfield, which I assume is the same playfield that we saw last month. So while it's being more populated, it's not a very speedy process, I would say.
No, there's more on it than there was last month, but that's a month later, so we assume it's a month later.
Yes. And one of the things that caught my eye immediately was the lamp holders, which are all individually screwed with 2 nuts on the playfield.
And then they made of metal and quite substantial looking brackets, really.
Right. But obviously, other manufacturers came up with PCB boards to hold lamps in there, as it's more efficient to manufacture that way, because screwing, I don't know, let's say 20 lamp holders under a playfield, it's going to take a lot more time than when you can do it with 4 PCBs and a lot less screws. But okay. They also showed a photo of rubber rings, flipper buttons, and all sorts of other parts that apparently arrived.
Yes, lots of them.
Yeah. So hopefully, finally, production soon.
Yeah, one of the things that sort of I think last time we were talking about this, and I mentioned the fact that the solenoids were mounted on that underside of the playfield of the Punny factory, and only had very short leads before they came to a connector. And I was wondering how they were going to link together, because there didn't seem to be much space for a circuit board to go in there, a driver board. And if there was, then it would have to be pretty close to where the solenoids were, because they were literally, about
at the most.
I was going to say about 10 to 15 centimeters long, 4 to 6 inches, which doesn't give you very far to run them to a board. If they're they've got 4 solenoids in a row and they all need to go to the same board, that board can only be either needs to be very, very long, or it's going to be very, very close. That wasn't resolved from this picture, because those solenoids were exactly the same as they were then. But there were some lamps, I think, which were connected up, and they appeared to be daisy chained together on like a 4-wire bus, which is interesting. It looked like the switches were going to be on a matrix, but maybe they're not going to be, because they had short cables as well. So it's interesting. There is some, it's not just an old style matrix or everything. So the lamps are individually controllable by the looks of it, which is good. But as we were saying just now, it looks to be somewhat over-engineered as far as the mounting of them goes, as Jonathan said. So other manufacturers, PCB, 1 screw into the playfield, done. This has got a big metal bracket for every single lamp, and that bracket's got 2 screws to hold it on. So it's going to be heavy under there as well, but it's going to be pretty solidly mounted. So it swings and roundabouts, but interesting approach that they're taking towards that, as well as everything else in their games.
Right. Okay. So then there's 2 companies where we can be rather quick or short, or whatever you want. Dutch Pinball, no news.
No, and American Pinball, no news. Yet.
It's a no news show.
We are assured there will be some news coming from American Pinball fairly shortly, but probably not in time for this particular recording. So, shame about that. But
I heard some rumors, which I'm not going to mention.
No.
But we might be. Hopefully we get David Fick soon on.
Yes, well, if it's if it's at all possible, we will get him on, and he can give us the latest, because it's a year he's been there, and I think it'd be nice to look back on the past year of American Pinball and look forward to what's coming up, given the upcoming news. But we can't preempt that, and we will announce that as soon as we can.
Right. Okay. Earlier on, we already talked about the Pinball Brothers. There's a small bridge to Pedretti Gaming from that, as Pedretti Gaming have announced the Funhouse 2.0 upgrade kit called Rudy's Nightmare. A lot of people were enthusiastic about an upgrade for this game, and the kit looks very interesting. But we hadn't seen any gameplay videos yet. Finally, they are there, and you can check them out on YouTube. There's a topic on Pinside as well, where the videos are, where links can be found as well. Don't get carried away in all the emotions, either positive or negative.
Yeah, on pin side, you mean?
Yeah, well, yeah, in that topic, but on pin side in general as well.
Yes.
And it was. I think they took an interesting approach. It's a completely different game, as you might expect. And then, I suppose some people are very nitpicky into in certain areas, which they have every right to be. So, some people will be very happy with this, and other people maybe it's not for them.
Yeah, when I first saw the details of it, I had a number of suggestions as to how it could have been or could be improved. But by that stage, it was pretty much all done and dusted and been signed off by the licensors at Planetary Pinball and Scientific Games. So I don't think anything was ever going to change with that. But I do think slightly differently in some areas, and people are on pin side, as they typically are very voluble in expressing their opinions on what they would have done, or indeed whether they absolutely love what they've got. So all variety of opinions are available.
Right. Okay. Then, since we're on the sort of other news topic, I just remembered. I saw a commercial for the Dutch Pinball Museum online, which I suppose is can be found on YouTube. I hadn't seen it before, so I figured it would be something that was recently posted. It has the approach of you always remember your first.
Saucy.
Which in case of pinball, that's actually in a lot of cases true. That there's a lot of people remember playing their first pinball machine.
Yeah, I have to admit, I can't remember playing my first pinball machine.
I was going to ask.
No, but then it was a long time ago for some of us, and maybe for others it was a little more recent and fresher in their memories. Can you remember what yours was, Jonathan?
I think I can. I think that was a Victory Gottlieb Mario. With Mario Andretti or that racing theme.
Racing theme. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I think that was it. But I only remember the cabinet, the yellow cabinet.
Oh right. Oh yeah. Yeah, I know.
And then I remember playing Xenon and Mr. and Mrs. Pac-Man. So it was that period.
Right.
So, come to think of it, that Victory must have been way later
than
Xenon. Yeah. So it must. Oh no, actually, Honey, Williams Honey. A neighbor had one. But that was only after I already discovered pinball, so it wasn't the first, but one of the first.
Right, one of the first you remember. I remember some of my earliest games that they had played at college, which was when I first got into pinball. So they would have been games like Black Knight. There was also Jungle Lord. Those 2-level Williams games, along with games from like 8-Ball Deluxe and Dolly Parton, Harlem Globetrotters, and Matahari. Matahari was a great game. Yeah, those are my early influences. Anyway, we're not here to talk about us. We're here to talk about the news. And,
I think we're mostly done with that. I think all the big topics that we wanted to discuss have been discussed.
Well, I just wanted to mention about there was the Pinball Industry Awards, which were announced this week.
Right.
Voted by a selection of, I suppose I would say, hand-selected judges. Because you had to...
I was not part of them.
You had to submit your application to be a judge, and you had to be a podcaster or a writer or something.
I could have been a judge.
Oh, absolutely could have been, yeah. And then basically you were then sent the voting form and filled it in, and this is where we find out what the results were. I mean, pretty much a clean sweep of most best game awards for Godzilla. which I'd come no surprise to me. It's a bit. It's one of those ones where he got awards for everything. He got awards for like best art on the cabinet and back glass, and he also got best art on the playfield. So unsurprisingly, Godzilla won them both. Best theme integration, well, Godzilla again. Best toy, Godzilla. Best innovation, Godzilla.
Best left flipper button.
Yes. Best playfield layout, Godzilla. Best rules, Godzilla. There are a few others managed to get their foot in the door there. Zeppelin got best lighting effects, which is not really surprising with the expression lighting kit. This is for games which came out in 2021. Yes.
So basically, it's a Sternfest because
Yes.
Jersey Jack didn't come out with a new game.
Yes, it was that, or it was pretty much either Ultraman or Halloween as well. But there was also some P3 games came out as well in that time, such as Sorcerer's Apprentice, which got some votes but didn't win in any categories, I don't think. And then there were sort of more media-based awards for like pinball streaming and podcasting and writing and all that kind of stuff. Which, if you want to find out all the results, then just search for Pinball Industry Awards. And I couldn't actually find a website for it directly, but I'm sure it's listed there. It's certainly on Facebook. If you use that, then you can go there. I haven't seen a sort of a big list of all the awards, but there are some videos of the announcements of the awards if you want to watch that, or there are also lists of some of the awards in different groups. So it's all there. Congratulations to the winners.
Yeah. I just read that the Pinball Industry Awards actually won an award for most underrated award ceremony.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, congratulations to them.
I kid.
Really? I'd never have guessed. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, well. So I suppose that brings us to the conclusion of our show. Oh, hold on. I did get a text from our good friend Gary Flower.
Oh, God, we've got back Gary, didn't we? Oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't forget about him, but it's not top of mind either.
What's he saying?
Got some great news. Would be great to come on your show. Would that be a good idea?
Oh,
I think
right.
so. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Oh, here's again. What's that? Yeah. Okay, I'm available now.
Okay.
How about we give him a call? So.
Okay. We'll do that right at the end.
I thought we were at the end.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, in that case, let's wrap this up then. And thank you for listening to this month's PINcast for January 2022. We'll be back next month, at the beginning of March, looking back at February and all the pinball events that happened then. And in the meantime, I'll say goodbye, and then we'll hand over to Gary and see what Jonathan and Gary have got to say.
Okay, well, I'm going to say goodbye as well, and then we'll give Gary a call.
Okay.
So, bye for now, and we'll be back
We'll see you next month.
Yep. Next month, and maybe sooner if there's breaking news.
Yep, okay.
So,
Here we go then.
Let's call Gary.
Let's
okay,
have
bye.
Gary. Bye.